You talk a
Mhm.
lot about money. That's kind of your passion, right? Your podcast is focused on getting people to be more comfortable talking about money. So what are things that people should be talking about?
Yeah, and I'm going to plug a free resource that I have. I've put together the 7 money talking points. I call it like the baby steps for getting started talking about money. Some of the main ones that I think are really important to talk about is the first one is what will I do in an emergency? Because I don't have the stat right off my head, but the majority of Americans can't handle like I think it's a $400 emergency
Yeah,
or
it's
something like
crazy.
that. And that's not a lot of money. Like it might be
Mm-mm.
if you're truly going through like a paycheck to paycheck emergency and things like that. $400 could be almost life changing. But when you really get your finances in order, you realize that's not that much money. And you should be able to almost give out $400 if it was required. So,
Yeah.
what will you do in an emergency? That's kind of where I like to start people off because it kind of gets you to almost like snap into reality of like, shoot, I don't know. I don't know what would happen if my car's tire went flat. And you can kind of figure out where you're actually starting with that question.
Well,
So,
and just to jump in, right, kind of back where you started, right, when talking about the credit union and people asking about their credit cards. I mean, so
mhm,
what a lot of people do when they don't have that cash is they put it on a credit card. And if
mhm,
they're really sort of living paycheck to paycheck, now they're forced to carry that balance because they can't just pay it off, right? They
mhm.
run the risk of then having late fees, which then just sort of adds to that. I mean, so then it becomes this whole downward spiraling cycle, putting yourself into this trap of, oh man, now I'm on a credit card that I already have a payment for, and now it's gone up, and that whole thing. So, sorry, go back to your points
Yeah,
there.
no, that's fantastic. Like, even just having that bare bones amount might be able to reduce the amount of credit card that you will have to carry. Like, if it's a true emergency and it's a couple $1,000s, now it's only maybe half that or something like that
Yeah,
if you have a little bit of one. So, something great to just consider how you actually manage an emergency. A couple other ones here. I want to get to one that I think is really fun, but a couple other ones just to read what I have here. You can ask yourself, how am I making money? How am I spending money? How am I saving money? Do I want to pay off all my debt? Or that's just understanding what your debt situation looks like. What do you want your retirement to look like? And then the fun one that I love to ask people is my last money talking point here. What are my big money goals? Is it going on a world cruise? Is it taking all of your family on a trip to Disneyland? Like, what are those big money goals? Because those are the things that are the exact opposite of what will I do in an emergency. They're what will I do for fun? And those are incredible conversations to have with a spouse or kids in this instance of what do they want their life to look like in 55 years when they're retiring. How can you set them up now and teach them compound interest now? So they're
yeah.
just the money talking points are kind of just eye-opening conversation starters that really make it easy because sometimes money can be such a hard thing to start that conversation around. So my money talking points really I just want to kind of get some conversation primers. But yeah, the what are your big money goals is a fun conversation to have.
Yeah, sure. And one of the things that I can say is so for a long time, right, I didn't manage my money well and I made a lot of the classic stupid mistakes. And I'll call them stupid
Mhm.
because I made them. So I don't want to insult anybody else, but I look back and think, man, but having gotten to the other side of that and then being financially stable and achieve some level of financial independence and just even that interim stage where you've got a healthy emergency fund and you just have that stability and you can spend money on other people or on family without having to stress about it. It's not just that it's a nice thing to do, but just personally from a selfish level, in a sense, it just feels really good. And so, right. So I
Mhm.
think you bring up a great point, having that fun conversation about what do you really want to do with your money? Because that gives you that long-term goal so that they're learning how to think about money, talk about money with you. And on also, right, this idea of talking about, well, what you want to do and involving your kids or talking about it as a family. Then we get back to your whole point that families should really be talking about money
Mhm.
rather than it's some taboo subject that we never discuss. Thanks for watching. If you want to listen to more of this conversation, you can watch complete episodes of the FI for Kids podcast right here at YouTube. Just hit subscribe and you'll get new episodes in your feed every Thursday.